One thing that I'm teaching from Tantra is semen retention, right? So in Tantra we say that the life force of a man is stored in the semen. Orgasm does not equal ejaculation. After 21 days is when our superpowers start to come out.
Men with chronic blue balls not being able to come worries me, I'm not gonna lie. But the promise of superpowers must be genuinely tempting for the men in this group.
I think something like this is really amazing, and I've never seen anything like it being done before. And they've been taught to not cry, they've been taught that they have to be super masculine. So I really respect all the men that have come here and are trying to work on themselves. I think there's a lot to learn about men being able to share openly how they felt about things.
Would I recommend it? Not really. What's up, everyone? This is Stefo Shambo from the Tantric Man Experience, and in this video we're going to comment and react to the new Vice documentary about Tantra. And I was featured and participating in this documentary. They came here to the island in Thailand where I'm living and shot this whole documentary, right? So if you want to know what I think about it, and if I would recommend anyone to watch this documentary, stay until the end and I will break it all down for you.
Yoga teacher or Tantra teacher, they have their own definition of what Tantra is. I like to classify them as classical Tantra, which is for spiritual evolution and enlightenment, and neo-tantra, which is for healing and working with your sexuality.
Okay, so here we actually talked about this for a very long time. And even though the documentary is 45 minutes, right? It's a long documentary. They were not able to, include all the things that we talked about when it comes to teaching Tantra, the importance of Tantra, consent, what Tantra really is. So it's not really, any substance in the information here. It's more entertainment. What we talked about is that what's happening on the island here in Koh Phangan is not really classical Tantra. There are very, very few people who practice traditional Tantra, meaning that you do mudras, you work with the energy, you work with energy forms and do mantras and yantras and all that. Not many people do that on this island, very, very few. And I wouldn't consider it a classical tantric island. So when we say Tantra island, it's more of a neo-tantra. A better word would be sacred sexuality island, right? And even then, when we talk about neo-tantra here on the island, it's not that prevalent. Like there's so many other things going on here. We could call it the Paradise Island, the Party Island, the Full Moon Island. And, the neo-tantric scene is just a very, very, very small part of it. So just to be really clear here, what this documentary is about is strictly 100% neo-tantra, sacred sexuality, and does not really have anything to do with classical Tantra. It doesn't really show much of that, if anything at all, So it's all just conscious practices for self-development and increasing pleasure.
Women are empowering themselves. We men must do the same.
Stefo is training the male population here on how to be a true tantric man.
I told them I'm not doing any workshops and I'm not training men on the island. My work is online and I have men from all around the world joining my online academy and my online mentorship program. So I was instructed to do this workshop, a one-off for them, so I could show like what it looks like, right? So when they say here that I am teaching the men on the island, it's not 100% accurate.
I want to teach men about integrity and how important it is to actually integrate your sex with your heart and the head, and we won't step over boundaries and things like that. One thing that I'm teaching from Tantra is semen retention, right? So in Tantra we say that the life force of a man is stored in the semen. Orgasm does not equal ejaculation. after 21 days is when our superpowers start to come out.
So you see there how I did, so to speak, they cut that out, right? So they want to really portray this thing about semen retention. They actually told me, please include that in the workshop that you will be given. So of course they had a script already planned ahead of time before they came to the island, and they instructed us on what to say so they can include all of these buzzwords right now, and semen retention is definitely one of these buzzwords, very popular, controversial as well. And so kind of they shaped things around and guided me on what to say and what not to say so they can have it in their documentary, right? So what I was building up to, I just didn't just throw it out. Semen retention will make you a Superman. That's not kind of how it looks like that here, but it's not what I meant. So I was building up to that for a long time, presenting facts on how it's actually affecting your testosterone. The testosterone increases, what it does to your energy, why boxers are not, ejaculating before a big fight, like all these things of like how it's building up ourselves, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, energetically, and as a man. And all together, we can call it kind of like a superpower, right? Because it is a hack. It is so popular right now to talk about life hacks, right? And how to improve sleep better, right? And superfoods and all this stuff. So this is kind of a super practice, so to speak, to add to your life hacks. So taking out of context like that sound like an untrue exaggeration, but of course that makes for great headlines and clickbaits, right?
We can use that in a long-term relationship because ejaculation pushes the partner away.
And here again, it kind of sounds like I'm saying that ejaculation is evil, but it's not what I'm trying to say. It was like a long buildup of looking at the hormones after ejaculation, right? We see that testosterone drops, prolactin spikes, and prolactin is that blocks erections from happening, and we feel like we want to just go within, and the oxytocin is lessened, right? So we don't want to be so close with a partner. So if we overdo that excessively, it's kind of like we shut that part of ourselves off when we're always in this refractory period. And that's the reason for this statement, just to give the backstory.
Men with chronic blue balls not being able to come worries me, I'm not gonna lie.
Blue balls can happen, and usually that is a sign of not sublimating and moving the energy in the body. So it gets stagnant and stuck down there in the pelvic region, in the testicles, and you experience blue balls. But usually that is in the beginning of practicing semen retention, and it's a sign that your sexual energy is not moving properly. And that's with everything. If you go to the gym for the first time, you're going to have sore muscles, and you're going to learn how to get better at that. You focus on recovery, you sleep, you drink enough water, and you do all the things not to get as sore so you can recover quickly. And the same thing here, you're going to learn how not to have blue balls, and eventually it will disappear. And some men never experience blue balls.
But the promise of superpowers must be genuinely tempting for the men in this group.
So in a couple of sentences, introduce your brother to the group.
As a child, he actually struggled quite a bit from learning disability.
One of his biggest challenges has been facing how his father expressed what masculinity was to him.
The doctors really couldn't do anything about his trauma, and he's overcome that by discovering yoga and various alternative methods to get into his trauma.
And just release everything you know, every program you picked up about what it is to be a man. Have to have a big, hard dick, that you need to look a certain way, that need to be strong. Boys don't cry, shake it out.
I think something like this is really amazing, and I've never seen anything like it being done before. And they've been taught to not cry. They've been taught that they have to be super masculine. So I really respect all the men that have come here and are trying to work on themselves. I think there's a lot to learn about men being able to share openly how they felt about things.
Yeah, I think I agree with this, and I think Tyr here did a great job on reflecting this back in an honest and truthful way. I think maybe in certain moments of this documentary, they might have focused more on sensationalism and making entertainment. And of course, it's Vice. You cannot expect anything else from them, and it's not a serious documentary about neo-tantra. It's supposed to be entertaining. It's supposed to draw headlines and increase their views. And they're known for being controversial, right? Vice is this sensational TV outlet, right? So for being Vice, I think they did a pretty good job. And I think how they depicted me, I'm totally okay with that, but I know that there's other people in the documentary who is not happy in the way they got depicted or how Tantra is perceived here on the island. It's kind of looked like a cult, and that's not my feeling that I get from it. Of course, there are always shady people, and there are always going to be manipulators and predators everywhere. So where should you go to work on your sexuality if not here? Are you go to, San Francisco or Berlin, and you're still going to have weird people everywhere you go, and so why not on a paradise island, right? So here, Tyr is actually seeing the vulnerability of men, and that is very beautiful, I have to say, because that is very controversial in the world, because we have grown up as men in schools and society and in movies that boys don't cry and you shouldn't show your emotional side because that's very feminine. So we think it's not man enough, or we're not a man enough if we show emotions and things like that. So to reclaim that takes a lot of courage. So I do really appreciate all the men who came to my workshop there, who was sharing in the circle in front of the cameras. And there was a ton of them. We only saw a few there, right? And that is super, super inspiring. And I think we can start to really change the paradigm of what it is to be a man in this world, and to stop this programming of young boys at the schoolyard on not being able to be fully human, right? And feeling and showing their emotions. So this is one of my favorite parts of the documentary, of actually showing that on film. So well done there.
Alongside his men's courses, Steffo does one-on-one breathwork designed to clear trauma from the body.
Hello, how are you?
How are you?
Good, thank you.
He thinks that this could help me with my own experiences.
The goal of this session is to let go to whatever comes up. You could say it's a healing session, because the breath work we will be doing is a circular breathing. It's being used as an alternative kind of therapy for a very long time. On the emotional side, since we work with the subconscious, there might be stuff stored there that you haven't kind of looked at for a while, and there might be any types of emotions, like sadness coming up out of nowhere, you don't even know why, or anger. The breath is deeper than usual. The breath is faster than usual.
I just don't feel very well. I feel like I'm going to be sick.
You're doing great.
I just feel really sick.
So here she's saying she's feeling sick, and also in the article that she wrote accompanying this documentary, she wrote that she felt nauseous, and that is because she ate before the breathwork session. And I said, do not eat, you need to be on an empty stomach. And she ate anyways. And I was saying, look, we cannot really do this session. And they convinced me to do it anyways, because they had no other time, no other slot to do it. So we went ahead anyways, even though I didn't really want to, and I wouldn't do it in a normal setting. Also because I said, hey, look, Tyr, like there's a lot of stuff going on for you right now. You have this stuff from your past and ex-relationship that you're still working on, and you have not really fully healed and integrated. And here you're super stressed and busy and jumping from one thing to the next. And it might not be the right moment to really go so deep into all of this in front of the camera. So again, I suggested that this is probably not the best time to do this, right? But even then, she said, and also the producer said, let's go for it. Let's do it anyway. We need to have this on film, and this is the only time we can do it. So I said, all right, if that's really what you want, let's do it then.
Why do I feel so dizzy?
Surrender to that. It's just your body releasing.
Sorry, I wasn't expecting that to happen. Do you mind if I stop?
No, it's okay. No, don't. It's totally fine. Just let it come. You're doing exactly as you should. Oh, no.
Oh, God, I feel so dizzy.
Be slow, be slow.
Yeah, so here again, I said before we started, don't stand up all of a sudden because you're going to be dizzy and you're going to be disoriented, right? So, and again, she did that. And the reason is because there was a lot of emotion coming up. She didn't want to expose them in front of the whole world through this Vice documentary, right? And I get it, and that's what I said in the beginning. And so she said she want to stop. She cannot do it anymore. She needs to get up, and that's why I was very cautious with her and saying, no, you can fall. She almost fell. You don't see that here. They edited that part out and just kept my audio going. I was saying no. So she went up really quickly and just ran to the bathroom, almost fell over. So I'm happy. Nothing bad really happened there, but then again, this is powerful stuff that we're working with. And if you're not ready, shouldn't really just dive into it with forcing yourself, right? So if you do it, have a private space where you can do it in your own comfort zone. Just take your time and be on an empty stomach and don't rush up like that. It's, you don't want to fall over and hurt yourself.
Yeah, it's more difficult when the cameras are here.
I was kind of expecting to just breathe and not have a reaction, but something happened. And as soon as I started talking, I could tell that I was wanting to cry. My body was wanting to cry. And I don't know if that's because I've just been put in a bit of a pressure cooker this week, or because emotions from what I've been through are coming up, or because I was essentially hyperventilating. The thing is, we have been going to class after class after class after class, and that seems to be the way here. There's so much to choose from, and everybody seems to be working on themselves. But when do you stop?
These are the emotions that were underlying there and they wanted to come up, and she was suppressing them. She was holding them back. And that's why she had to cut it off there. She had to run to the bathroom and cry in the bathroom because she didn't want to let these things come out. So the most important in a breathwork session like this is to surrender to the experience and the emotions coming up. And that's why I was so adamant about saying, like, any emotions might come up, positive, negative, whatever you want to label them, just trying to accept whatever comes, whatever is there, right? And just face them and deal with them. At this point of time, she was not ready to face them. And she also mentioned that, she feels it's like hyperventilation. She was not sure if it was really her emotional stuff coming up or if it's just hyperventilating. But I would say it's not hyperventilating, 100% not. It's superventilating, right? Meaning hyperventilation, you go into a panic mode, a panic attack, and you can't control that ventilation, right? But here, we're actually trying to do a superventilation where we increase so much oxygen in our body in a controlled manner to produce a result of reaching to our subconscious mind and accessing certain emotions that we have suppressed. And this is a very studied research methodology that is proven to work. Just go to the Wim Hof website and look at all the science that is there. If you ever done any type of breath work, you don't even need science for this to work. You know that breath has been there for thousands of years in Tantra and in yoga. It's a way to access Kundalini, to access life force, to access the Mother Shakti, to access your subconscious mind and stored parts of your shadow. So it's a really powerful modality. So to scoff it off as hyperventilation, I feel that that is doing a disservice to this powerful practice. So overall, what are my thoughts about this documentary? Well, I have to say that I was a little bit disappointed that it didn't bring more depth and a better representation of the power of sacred sexuality and neo-tantra, and maybe even some classical tantra. But I'm pretty happy with the way I was portrayed. You know, I was talking to the producer afterwards and asked him like, "Hey, you said it's not going to be sensational," because I feel it was sensational. I don't know. Do you think it was sensational or not if you watched the whole thing? But he said that he didn't think it was a sensational documentary and that he showed it to the whole Vice crew and all of them really loved it and thought it was a fair representation of what's going on here. And I am kind of, you know, a 50-50 on this, on if it's doing more harm than good to Tantra and the power of tantric healing, right? So on one hand, I think it's a commercial, it's Vice, right? It's a commercial drive-by experience of a woman from the West who just comes here to, do as many things as possible in just one go. And so in that way, it's kind of fair. So it might speak to the mainstream people, and it might bring some more mainstream people into the work of yoga and tantra, and that might be a good thing. Like with everything new, usually it starts with ridicule before it's more accepted. Just like yoga and meditation, like let's say only 20 years ago, was not really accepted in society, and especially if men is going to do yoga or meditation, it was like, what is that feminine practice that you're doing, kind of. And so yoga and meditation has now become a household name, and it's much more accepted. And in the beginning it was not so. So maybe this is kind of similar. Start with a ridicule, a little bit less serious, more entertaining way of presenting it to the world. But on the other hand, though, I feel it's kind of showing the island here, this paradise that I'm living in, as a cult. And it might seem like this is everything that's going on here, but it's not. It's just like a very small, minute percentage of it. There's so much other amazing stuff going on this island. And it's not a very unsafe island and unsafe community, I would say. There is, of course, you say to people like everywhere else in the world, if you go to Ibiza or Tulum, Mexico, or you go to Berlin in Germany, whatever, there will always be sexual predators everywhere. And I think it's important to deal with that. And what's not mentioned in this documentary is that there is actually groups called Safe Pangan and the police that works, even though it's a very difficult topic to work with, but they do take action on sexual predators. And sexual predators have been sent away from the island before because they want to avoid going to court and trial. So there are actions being taken towards this, and more consent workshops and stuff like that in general, and just trauma-informed awareness are more and more available on the island as well. In general, Thailand is a very safe country overall, in general, much safer than many other places in the world. And a lot of people have been on this island for years and they never even they might have heard about it, but they never even partaking in this tantric community that exists in a very, very small way. Exploring your sexuality and how to improve yourself and own your sexual shadow and all these things takes a lot of courage, and to do that on film and to being filmed while doing that, and then having the editors of a big TV company to edit it in a certain way. And so I do respect all the teachers and participants in this documentary for putting themselves out there and having the courage to go and speak about what they are passionate about. And then, you know, it turned into a little bit of a cultish, sensational entertainment. And, you know, that's just what to expect when you work with something like Vibe. So overall, yes, I think it could have been better. I was hoping for more depth. But on the other hand, it also could be way worse. They could have painted a very black picture on all of this. Would I recommend it? Not really. Maybe to those who are already in the field of Tantra, just for entertainment. But I wouldn't recommend it for any educational purposes or to friends of mine. I would rather go with something like Sex, Love and Goop on Netflix. That's with Gwyneth Paltrow and Michaela Bohem. And I think that does a better job on representing neo-tantra and the healing modalities of that in a more serious way, in a more deep way. So no, I would not recommend this documentary, but I would instead recommend Sex, Love and Goop, and I hope to see more of those kind of perspectives and angles of the power of neo-tantra next time. So that is it for today. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Did I miss something important? Please let me know if I did. There's a lot to cover. Hope you enjoyed. Take care and see you next time.